Naruto is one of the highest selling manga of all time, and probably would be the highest selling manga of all time if One Piece didn't have 110 volumes. I'm sorry, One Piece fans, that's just objectively the truth. Naruto only has 70 volumes. But when it comes down to anime's cultural impact, there is no anime on Earth with a larger cultural impact than that of Naruto. See, because while anime like Dragon Ball and Yu Yu Hakusho might have opened the door to the Western world and their acceptance of anime, Naruto kicked the door clear off the hinges, so that shows like Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen could sprint through with no hesitation. See, because here's the thing, even if one day Naruto is outsold by one of these new-gen anime like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen, the hard work has been done, and while somebody could make this exact same argument for Dragon Ball, Naruto's impact is just larger than that of Dragon Ball's, though it is close. They're both incredible IPs that did a huge amount for the Western world accepting anime and manga. And this is why there was such a hole left in the community when Naruto came to its end in 2017. The most important anime to ever exist gone after a 15-year run. But fortunately for us, it wasn't gone. It was now just simply existing as a sequel in Boruto. And one would imagine that a sequel of one of the biggest manga and anime IPs of all time would be massively beloved. Continuation of a story that got millions, if not tens, if not hundreds of millions of people into anime and manga. And yet, people hated it. Like a lot. And for a long time. Now this is for a myriad of different reasons. Some people hated Boruto the character. Some people hated that Naruto was no longer the MC. Some people hated the new character designs. Whatever the reasoning was, a lot of people hated Boruto, and rather quickly. But if everybody hated Boruto, why is it now one of the most popular manga on Earth? Well, the answer is actually rather simple. Because Kishimoto knew we would hate it, and wrote it accordingly, so that when he climbed out of the trenches of the hate of Naruto fans with one of the greatest mangas ever written, the rise would be just that more exponential. And we are now at a place with the Boruto manga where week after week, it trends and reads above the likes of both One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen, once again reclaiming the top spot for Naruto IP being the most popular manga on Earth. But how did this happen? How did Boruto climb its way out of the trenches to become as popular as its predecessor? Was it the new gen cast of characters, the downscaling of the combat, or just the addressing of multiple issues that plagued Naruto now in its sequel? Well, here's a little hint to the rest of this video. It's all of those things. And all of those things coming together has slowly but surely solidified that by the time that Boruto ends, it will be better than Naruto. And I can back that point up. Because today we're talking how Boruto is saving Naruto's legacy. But before we get to talking about how anybody's saving anybody, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you're feeling particularly lovey-dovey and you want to hear me talk about more anime and manga, go ahead and follow my other channel, The Weeb Commander, where instead of talking about Naruto and Boruto, I talk all other anime and manga. And if you just love the idea of me talking anime and manga, go ahead and follow my anime podcast, Otaku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And I just want to say a special thank you to everybody who came out and visited me at Comic Palooza in Houston this last weekend. It was incredible getting to see you, and I'm sorry you're now watching this panel over again. You write a script for a panel, surprisingly, you can use it for a video. But before we get into all that, today we gotta talk about a brand new sponsor to the page, ZenMarket. ZenMarket is a Japan shopping proxy service that's available in 19 languages with incredible customer service. ZenMarket wants to make sure that you can get any and all objects that you could possibly want from Japan, not only safely, but also cost efficiently, as they make sure that all of their items are well packed, well consolidated, and they charge no consolidation fees. ZenMarket also has a 60-day free storage policy so that you can buy things from Japan and stock a couple things up before you ship them all back. See, with ZenMarket, you can buy almost anything from any Japanese store online, as long as it's eligible with international shipping. That's places like Mercari, Amazon Japan, Rakuten, and 10,000 plus other Japanese online stores. And ZenMarket is trusted by 2+ million users worldwide, with as many shipping and payment methods as you could ever possibly hope for. Which is why I know whenever I want to purchase some anime merch from the source, I get it through stores like Jump Shop or Suragaya from ZenMarket. All I have to do is copy the item link from the store that I'm shopping on, paste it into the ZenMarket ZenMarket search bar, and now I can shop from stores that aren't even integrated into ZenMarket's website. This allows me to find and purchase rare anime items that are only sold in Japan. If you sign up for ZenMarket today, either using the link in my description or the code on screen right now, you will not only get a free account registration, but also 1,000 Zen points today, which can be used to take 1,000 yen off your international shipping fee. So what are you waiting for? It's time to cut out the middleman and get all of the anime merch and statue and figurines straight from the source. So, before we dive into how Boruto has climbed its way out of the trenches, we should probably talk about what made Naruto so popular in the first place. See, because in order to identify what's now making Boruto possibly more popular than Naruto ever was, we have to establish what made Naruto so popular in the first place, and why Boruto was so hated for being different when it didn't explore the same themes. So, let's ask the question, why was Naruto so popular? It's unfortunately kind of a loaded question, but it does have a somewhat simple answer. See, Naruto is a human story, built in a seemingly inhumane world, where an entire village would rally in hatred against a child. The story of an orphan cast into a world that hated him. But instead of that child becoming jaded and angry with the world, Naruto showed us the sterling example of what we as humans should strive to be. Forgiving, impassioned, strong, and willing to lead. See, whether it was Naruto saving Sasuke in the Land of Waves arc, or him cutting the God Tree in half with a Lava Rasen Shuriken, for what felt like my entire life, Naruto was always around, showing me the kind of person I should strive to be. It instilled in me and so many others a don't quit attitude that undoubtedly led to my successes today, and Naruto isn't even my favorite character. In fact, I'm willing to bet that the majority of you watching this video right now not only learned lessons from Naruto, but also don't see him as your favorite character in the story, and that's kind of impressive. See, but in the wake of Naruto's completion, Kishimoto was left with a somewhat insurmountable task, which was keep making the investors money. Which really gave Kishimoto one option and one option alone: make a sequel. But how are you going to make Naruto a sequel? I mean, Naruto is the child of prophecy after all. He's supposed to bring peace to the world. Well, you kind of have to make him not the child of prophecy if you want a sequel. And thus you have to end Naruto with a plot twist that not only did the entire fan base not see coming, but also did not enjoy. And that plot twist came in the form of the reveal of Kaguya, a god descended from some far-off dimension, the creator of chakra and ninja kind as we knew it. And while a reveal like this would usually be really cool, if not a little jump the sharky, most people absolutely detested this ending. But why? Isn't the introduction of gods into this universe kind of cool? Don't people usually love that kind of thing? Well, because the reveal of Kaguya came at the cost of Madara, the bad guy we spent the entire story not only hearing about, but actively fearing. And in the moment that he achieved the highest level of power that he was ever going to achieve, he was killed in a surprise feat, which we now know is just kind of the way that Kaguya rolls. And thus in that moment, many people felt as though Naruto as a story was ruined. And there was more bad news, because Naruto's finale was ruined so that Boruto could be made. And thus Boruto in the beginning was already off to a very rough start. When you're a sequel story made by the ruining of the original story, people aren't exactly going to be rooting for you. On top of this, Boruto was actively being compared to Naruto, one of the greatest anime and manga of all time. And thus Boruto, right out the jump, was not only being compared to one of the greatest pieces of fiction of all time, but it was also being blamed for the derailing of said piece of fiction. So how on God's green earth is it the #1 trending manga? It's not the #1 trending manga right now. That's JJK 261, and for good reasons. Well, let's break it down. Now let's talk about Boruto. Kishimoto absolutely understood that every Naruto fan would now hate this new, too blessed to be stressed main character in Boruto. This new generation of children who knew nothing of the struggles of their parents. Kids who only grew up with the idea of the Third Great Shinobi World War, the Fourth Great Shinobi World War, and the massacre of the Uchiha as historical events. Kids who weren't forced to fight in the Fourth Great Shinobi World War and would probably never be forced to fight in any war, ever. Children who got to be just that, children. And we hated them for it. And in no other direction was that vitriol more directed than in the direction of Boruto, who in the beginning of his story, you're supposed to dislike. He's entitled, lazy, a cheater, who cheats his way through the Chunin exams using a shinobi gauntlet against the only character that people actually liked in the beginning of Boruto, Shikadai, because Shikadai is just Shikamaru, and people love Shikamaru. But all of that is supposed to change with the introduction of Momoshiki, which happens rather fast in the manga, but not rather fast in the anime, which is an ongoing and very prevalent issue. See, the introduction of Momoshiki is supposed to act as a narrative 180 that strips the so-called privileged life that Boruto has right out from under him, putting him in a position very similar to, though all not exactly the same, as his father's, Naruto, when he was a child. And this is where the Naruto begins to shine in Boruto. See, the beginning of Boruto was meant to act as a juxtaposition to Naruto's core values, to show that while peace was achieved, peacetime comes with its own problem. People get soft, lazy, they cheat, technological advances undercut hard work. But this intentional tonal shift actually, in my eyes at least, makes Boruto more impressive than Naruto. See, because Naruto was born in the wake of the conclusion of the Third Great Shinobi World War. And while technically this era was an era of a ceasefire, this was still an era of ninjadom marred by the idea that a war could break out at any moment. And at no point in Konoha's history is that more evident than the massacre of the Uchiha clan, as the likes of Danzo believed that if the Uchiha clan truly rallied against Konoha, it would spark the Fourth Great Shinobi World War. And thus, while Naruto was growing up, the reality of war was always on the horizon. But you can't say the same for Boruto. See, while technically in Shikamaru's second light novel, the Hidden Stone Village does threaten to start a war if Konoha doesn't share their technological advances with the rest of the world, but that was a daimyo forcing the hands of the Hidden Stone Village, and the daimyo hold next to no real power. See, Boruto was born 4 to 5 years after the establishment of peace in the ninja world, and not the kind of peace that comes from a ceasefire, the kind of peace that comes from all of the nations banding together and battling against aliens together, and thus there was no additional wars looming on the horizon. And yet, when Boruto is thrust into the direct center of a war that could prove to be just as deadly as the war his father was involved in, Boruto adapts, same as his father. However, Boruto has to make this adaptation over the course of a couple of weeks. Naruto has been raised his entire life with this ideology. Now I know what you're gonna say.
Nick, what war? Momoshiki just came down and tried to suck the tailed beast out of all the Jinchuriki.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I guess you're right, but that's also exactly what Kaguya tried to do. And that, like it or not, is the actual purpose of the Fourth Great Shinobi World War. Because, well, sure, there was Edo Tensei Shinobi filling out the ranks of the non-Shinobi Alliance side of the Fourth Great Shinobi World War, but mostly the Fourth War was 3v80,000. So the idea that one Otsutsuki coming down to Earth doesn't constitute a war in the Naruto universe doesn't make any sense. And thus, I will reiterate, Boruto is thrust directly into the center of a war. And while Boruto adapting to now be the center of the focus of this entire war could have made his journey exactly the same as his father's, Kishimoto rather wisely looked at the most popular characters from his previous IP Naruto and decided, yeah, Boruto's not going to be Naruto 2.0, but he is going to be an amalgamation of all of my most popular characters. And now the MC of his new generation Naruto IP is basically an OC built by a 9-year-old who has all the best aspects of all the best characters of Naruto, and Kishimoto has pulled it off flawlessly. See, while Naruto was born a down-and-out orphan with nothing to his name that the whole village hated, who had to work hard to get everything he ever wanted, as the story progresses, you realize, oh, that's not really all that true. See, well, it is rather clear and obvious that Naruto has worked hard for the majority of the things that he's gotten. To say that he didn't have a massive amount of help along the way is a stretch. He is the son of one of the most powerful Hokage in the history of the Leaf, and a woman who amongst the clan of people known for their life force and chakra reserves was an outlier in terms of strength. He is the Jinchuriki of the strongest tailed beast on Earth, a perfect sage, at least partially due to the fact that his father was also a perfect sage. And oh yeah, the reincarnation of the literal child of God. And to top all of that off, like a little cherry on top of a sundae, he was also given a massive power up at the end of the Fourth Great Shinobi World War by said God. And thus, as more and more was revealed about Naruto, less and less about his core values felt genuine. It's like some entrepreneur saying, oh, I started my business in my garage, and then you realize, oh, their parents owned emerald mines. Looking directly at you, Elon. But the same can't be said for Boruto. See, from the gate, it was established that Boruto was a once-in-a-lifetime genius, born from, objectively, the strongest stock any human has ever been born from, outside of maybe his father. Meaning that Boruto, for all intents and purposes, should be the strongest person of his generation. And he's lived up to that hype. And while that sounds like the MC of the most powerful super high school anime that came out for the 17th time this season, Boruto's triumphs don't come from power-ups. They come from perseverance. And in this vein, he is somewhat like his father. But now when it's revealed somewhere down the line that Boruto's incredibly powerful stock has drawn a connection between him and Shibai, that won't be surprising, as it's already been established from the moment of his birth that he's special. Now, all he has to do is something compelling with that specialness, which he's already begun to do. And in this sense, Boruto is modeled after Itachi, not Naruto. And that's why Boruto is the most popular character in his story when Naruto wasn't. See, Boruto is currently a rogue ninja looking after Konoha from the shadows, in a deadlock with his brother who wants him dead, but he just wants to help guide through life. And once you put all the pieces together, you'll realize that Boruto is all the best pieces of Itachi, Sasuke, and Naruto all rolled up into one character. And Kishimoto was able to do this because of Naruto. That is to say that Kishimoto was able to identify the aspects that his fan base loved the most about certain characters because of the experience he got from writing Naruto. See, Boruto, just like Itachi, has to deal with the world believing that he did something blasphemous that he simply either didn't do or was coerced into doing against his will. And even though the entire world, and specifically the village that they once called home, hates them, they still protect said home from the shadows. All the while, he wields the lightning release and fighting style of his teacher, Sasuke, and approaches all the problems in his life with the head-down, relentless attitude of his father, all while tackling the problems that the previous generation left him and the rest of the new generation with before basically just disappearing into nothingness. As now, Boruto and the rest of his new generation of shinobi are the only people strong enough left to deal with said problems. And as Boruto stands as this chimera or amalgamation of some of the greatest characters in Naruto, he shines as the MC of the story, massively beloved by the entire fan base. A character who didn't fold in the face of the entire world turning against him. A character who didn't stumble after stabbing out the eye of his teacher. A character who didn't falter after losing that very same teacher to the icy grip of a tree when that teacher was the only person left on Earth who knew and cared about Boruto. And in this way, Boruto isn't so different from Naruto. As in the beginning of Naruto's story, just like with Boruto currently, the entire world was turned against him through means that Boruto and Naruto couldn't control. And through the loss of Jiraiya, Naruto also lost one of the only people on Earth who supported him and loved him for who he was. But the difference between these two stories is context. See, people hated Naruto because of something that was inside of him. And Kawaki hates Boruto for the same reason. And thus Kawaki turns the entire world on Boruto by making them believe that Boruto did something wrong. That is, killing Naruto and betraying Konoha that had brought him in. And thus when Naruto could change the hearts and minds of those who hated him for an albeit superficial reason, Boruto can only be vindicated through the extraction of truth. And thus his journey needs to mimic that of Itachi's, and not Naruto's. And thus if you're ever wondering to yourself why everybody's always screaming about the young lord, and you're wondering where was this hype for Naruto when his manga was running, the answer is rather simple. Look at the way that people dealt with Itachi, the way they devoured anything he ever did. Take yourself back to those simpler days where Edo Itachi was battling against the likes of Edo Nagato or Kabuto, and think about how in those moments he was deified as a character. If you take a step back while holding a Boruto manga, you'll realize that's just what Boruto is in this story. But the fandom holding Boruto in a higher regard than they ever did Naruto comes from more than just Kishimoto gaining experience from writing 700 chapters of Naruto. Also, he can strip the best aspects from certain characters and shove them into his new MC. See, because Kishimoto also realized before heading into Boruto that one of Naruto's biggest strengths was its incredibly deep cast of characters. However, that was also one of its biggest weaknesses. Think of Rock Lee for a moment. See, it's established in part 1 of Naruto that he's one of the most important characters to the story, with not only one, but 2 incredible fights. In fact, if you were to ask 10 Naruto fans what their favorite fight in all of either part 1 of Naruto or the entirety of Naruto is, I bet 7 out of 10 of them would say a Rock Lee fight. But by the time that Shippuden had come around, Rock Lee was basically gone from the story. And while this possibly could have been because Rock Lee was supposed to die in part 1, the reasoning doesn't necessarily matter. A beloved, well-written character who now, looking back at the story, embodied the true values of Naruto more than the MC, was sidelined in Shippuden, and that story is not unique to him. It also happened to Neji, Hinata, Shino, Kiba, and basically the rest of the Konoha 12 that wasn't either on Team 10 or Team 7. And thus one of the biggest issues with Naruto was the loss of the Konoha 12. 13 if you include Sai, who also doesn't get a ton of exposition. But the Konoha 12 were one of the coolest, most well-diversified groups in all of anime, and they were lost to the annals of filler for the next 500 episodes. And thus, heading into Boruto, the cast of characters to care about, try saying that 3 times fast, the cast of characters to care about, the cast of characters to care about, the cast of characters to care about, I am nice, was substantially downsized from 12 to 6, with the only characters of any importance in the early parts of Boruto in the new generation being the new iteration of Team 10 and Team 7. And thus now, the only characters who need to be fleshed out in really any capacity whatsoever are Sarada, Mitsuki, Boruto, Inojin, Chocho, and Shikadai, and Sumire, who gets her own arc, which is adapted from a light novel. And because Kishimoto is spread substantially less thin in Boruto than he was in Naruto, every single one of these characters has gotten interesting plot developments, or at least look like they will soon in the future, as Mitsuki is perpetually one of the most interesting characters in all of Boruto. Dealing with his son plotline and being a clone of Orochimaru just leads to inherently interesting conversations. Sarada just speed blitzed a version of her father who surprise feeded her, and while Shikadai, Inojin, and Chocho haven't necessarily had their moment in the sun, they have already played a bigger role in Two Blue Vortex than they did in part 1 of Boruto. And with the recent revelations of what's going on with Himawari, it appears as though they'll play a much bigger role moving forward. And thus, while in Boruto we have less characters to love, as growing up, I kid you not, Shino and Kiba were my 2 favorite characters, we also get to expect less back-end disappointment when characters we love don't get the same love from the mangaka writing the story. However, the shrinking in the cast size and therefore this smaller diversity of characters that you can love in Boruto is fixed by Boruto. See, Boruto tightens the slack on the Boruto story by being an incredibly interesting and well-loved character, absorbing all the affection that the fan base would have for other characters. And this is evidenced by the fact that 99% of the theories that float around in the Boruto community, of which I trade in professionally, all revolve around Boruto. At least they did until about 2 months ago, but now Himawari is quite literally having her moment in the sun, which is funny because Himawari means sun. You know it means sunflower. This isn't your first NC Hammer 23 video, or is it? See, Boruto is a central talking point in Boruto, and the only people who even come close are Kawaki and now Himawari, and maybe Sarada. But as I'm sitting here and saying all this, it makes it sound as though Boruto is some far-off bastardization of the IP that Naruto left behind, turning Naruto into something it never was. And while in one sense that is true, in another it's completely false. See, because, well, yes, Boruto was made to be as different from Naruto as possible, specifically as different from Shippuden as possible, as Kishimoto openly admits to the fact that the scale of the battles in Shippuden got way out of hand, and he wanted to downscale the combat back to taijutsu and basic ninjutsu, which has led many to believe that the Boruto universe has gotten weaker. It hasn't, it's gotten stronger, and that's supposed to be displayed in our second narrative 180 that happens in Boruto, the introduction of Jigen and Ishiki. See, Jigen and Ishiki and their high-level karma marking usage, or the usage of Rinnegan palms from Momoshiki, was meant to show us that speed, power, taijutsu, and the ability to absorb ninjutsu are now the new meta. And thus things like Susanoo the size of mountains and giant 3-faced Kurama modes are a thing of the past. And that is very, very clearly demonstrated when Jigen rips not only Naruto, but also Sasuke out of their giant chakra mechs. And thus now, in Boruto, we see not only a modern-looking world with trains, miniguns, and hamburgers, and handheld video game devices, and a TCG they will not stop shoving down our throats, the Boruto world has also upped its level of combat while downscaling its scale, which has effectively once again made Boruto a story about ninjas, not chakra mechs, who solve their problems with simple ninjutsu and taijutsu, the way that Naruto was in the beginning. But the greatest aspects of Naruto are still very much preserved, as Boruto is still a walking example of the iron will of human resolve, like his father, and the adults of the universe continue to embody the will of fire of Konoha, as people like Naruto and Sasuke have already put their lives on the line to protect the new generation, which is incredibly in line with the will of fire. And thus, while many believed that when Boruto began it was going to destroy Naruto's legacy, I'm here to tell you today that it's accomplishing exactly the opposite. Any slight that somebody might have had against Naruto as a story, which is already one of the greatest stories ever told, is addressed in Boruto. The women are well written. The story is about ninjas. The MC is the most compelling character. And while sure the goalpost has switched from ninjas fighting ninjas to ninjas fighting aliens, the aliens fight like ninjas now. Boruto, which could have very easily derailed Naruto, picks up where it left off, with all the knowledge and experience that Kishimoto gained over 700 chapters of Naruto. And the beauty of this new generation, this sequel IP, is that Kishimoto was given a blank slate. And that blank slate is doing very well for itself, as month after month, Boruto continues to trend as one of the most popular manga on Earth. And well, yeah, you know, the anime is 300 episodes and only 62 of them are canon. But if you treat it like a seasonal anime, it's pretty good. Also, it might be coming back as a seasonal anime because Studio Pierrot said that they're playing with their idea for seasonal anime releases for their hiatus anime, which means it'll get the same care and attention as the likes of TYBW. But I want to talk about the manga, which I've already said trends at #1 on the Manga Plus app almost every single week. And the Manga Plus app, for those of you who don't know, is owned and operated by Shueisha, the gods of serialization. And considering we are now only 10 chapters into the second part of the story, which will probably end up being longer than the first part of the story, this means that once again, Naruto IP is running the manga world, and will do so for years to come. Meaning not only will Naruto retain its relevancy for another decade, but it will also enthrall a whole new generation of weebs to join the fold. And if that's not a reason to get into Boruto today, I genuinely have nothing for you. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. What's your favorite part of Boruto? Tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you ever want to see me do a way sweatier, way worse version of this video, come see me live sometimes. I have no live dates coming up because I'm perpetually busy, but come next time. I mean, like a lot of people did already, there was like 200 people there, but like still, next time.